This 3D printer that I'm going to mention has the factor because this printer is a bit the Anet A8E, getting the latest news and updates right here on Zachary's 3D Prints. Hello, I'm Zachary and this channel is about 3D printing with tips, tricks, tutorials, how to review news, anything 3D printing or 3D printer related you can find right here on this channel. If you're new here and not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and hit the notification button to get the latest videos right in your YouTube alerts. And thanks for being here. Yeah, what shall I say about Anet 3D? The only thing I have from Anet is a controller board that came with my famous CTC Prusa i3 MK2 3D printer. The red board with the missing Marlin open firmware options and the negative things like catching fire because of a thermal runaway protection is switched off, and further the original designs that they have. Further, they have contacted me because of the CR6 SE, which I didn't have, if I would sell that to them. If they even have watched one of my videos, they knew that I don't have the CR6 at all. I suggested them to help them or give some advice to help Anet 3D a little bit further. But let's give this 3D printer from Anet a closer look. But before I'm going to continue with this video, a little disclaimer. All specs and pictures I used in this video are from the website of Anet 3D. Now that that is out of the way, let's get into the A8E from Anet 3D. So the Anet A8E 3D printer. Let's take a look on the outside of this 3D printer. It's an all-metal frame made out of aluminum profiles and extrusions. This design looks very simple, which is no problem at all. The 3D printer is easy to assemble. The base of this 3D printer looks like it's made out of one part with rounded edges or curved profiles. On the profile there is a Z-axis frame installed, which is made out of the 2020 aluminum extrusions. The Y-axis is made out of a 2040 aluminum extrusion, and that one is placed like a normal 3D printer in the middle of the base. One thing I noticed was the missing display, but I will cover that later on in this video. This 3D printer has one stepper motor on the X-axis on the right backside of the 3D printer. It looks very simple as well. The end stops or limit switches are very visible, like the X-axis and the Z-axis. The 3D printer has on the right side a black box where the controller board is installed, and there seems to be no heat bed. Yes, this 3D printer doesn't come with a heat bed. Instead of that, it has an aluminum substrate build plate. I wondered what the difference was between a normal heat bed and this aluminum substrate build plate. I had to look it up, and the last one, the aluminum sheet onto which a tin foil PCB is glued. The intimate thermal contact between the solder pads and the aluminum substrate allows for dissipation of large amounts of heat energy. To achieve this, the aluminum substrate is mounted directly onto the heat sink. A normal heat bed, thinner ones and the thicker ones have both an aluminum plate and a PCB on the bottom. So in other words, this would be the same kind of thing, right? In some of the pictures, it looks like the build plate has a glass bed on top of that, but the site of Anet 3D doesn't mention that at all. There are some big leveling knobs with some yellowish springs in between. If you look to the y-axis, you can see something, a tensioner for the belt. And I didn't say belt tensioner. Yep, it's true. This mechanics works as follows. You tighten the toothed gear by pressing the spacers and the bracket together with a knob on the side. In normal belt tensioner, they pull the toothed gear backwards and so pulling the belt itself. So the Bowden style extruder has one gear and an idler to push and pull the filament into the PTFE tube. No Titan extruder and no double geared extruder. I don't know what Anet means with a automatic filament control, because every 3D printer has something similar. Nothing special, but this 3D printer doesn't even have a filament run out sensor. Let's take a look at the interior and the specs of this 3D printer from Anet 3D. The building volume is 220 x 220 x 250 millimeters. The A8E is open source and can be adjusted with Arduino IDE, which is nice. But on the pictures I see Arduino version 1.0.8. They stated on their site, we open sourced the firmware of the A8E for skilled veterans to develop their customized settings for creating their favorite printing effects. Seriously? If I hear something like this, I think of a slicer software because of the favorite printing effects. The firmware is the back end of your 3D printer. It's what makes your 3D printer work. For example, thermal runaway protection can be switched on in the firmware. I can't find anything about the mainboard. I think it has a red color. But other than the color, I see 2 times a 10-pins connector, with one of them being for the display, which I will mention later in this video. And I think there are some more connectors to this board, but I can't see them that quickly. This board looks like it has a AC adapter built in of 24 volts. With this power supply, Anet wants a safe voltage operation and effectively prevent the short circuit, overload, over voltage and over temperature. That sounds great, right? Because of this 3D printer has no heat bed, you can print only PLA on this machine. Maybe there are some other things you can print without needing a heat bed. But for me, I think only PLA can be printed on this machine. And then the display, a movable display. Oh my gosh, why not making an enclosure with a decent touchscreen on the right side of this 3D printer? Normally, these kinds of displays are connected with just one flat cable. This can break, you know. And holding the display in your hands, how safe is that? I don't think it's recommended to do so. And the display has a 5-button operation, meaning if you are adjusting, for example, these steps, then you are pressing quite a lot of these buttons. I know, I've been there. The launch of this 3D printer is going to be in September of 2020. I think in the end of September of 2020. The global sales price would be, with the early bird discount, $172 US. I'll put the link in the description of this video. This video is supported by these Patreon supporters, Tony and Shannon. Thank you for your support. You can also join by supporting this channel. Check the link in the description of this video. So to wrap up this video, it sounds that I'm not too positive about this 3D printer, which is true. There are some things that should be changed or improved to make this 3D printer much better and even much safer. Like the heat bed, the belt tensioners, the display, the controller board placement, the power supply unit and the extruder. I don't know which direction Anet 3D wants to go with this 3D printer, but I think this 3D printer is way too much in price, to be honest. The Anycubic Mega Zero is only $130 and you get the same building volume, and this one looks much cleaner and much better. But maybe I'm too skeptical and this is a great 3D printer after all. If you made it this far in this video, you are awesome. Thank you. On the end card, there are some recommended videos that are worth watching. Please like this video, share this video with other people, and I will see you next time. And hey, let's make some fun with 3D printing. Zachary 3D Prints. Bye bye.